Okay. Let's see how you did here. So grab a marker or a pen, right? And as we go along, you make corrections there. So yeah, this is a bit of a mix match of a lot of the things we've covered in this unit. So yes, you have to read carefully, you have to watch out, and just trust what you know at the same time, right? So the value of angle DEF, okay? So if you read it, DEF, they're asking, right, or I am asking for this angle right here. Okay, that's the angle in question there. So all you have to do is 180 minus 135. So that's, sorry, angle, let me get this straight here. You can call it something if you want, right? You can call it X if you want, right? Angle X is 180 minus 135, and that is 45 degrees. Okay, so you got that. So 1 mark for that. Calculate the length of side DF. So that's this one here. It's M really. So that's a side angle side, right? So to find M squared, right, we go 25.8 squared plus 33.4 squared minus 25.8, 33.4 cosine of 45. Not 135, but 45, right? So 1 mark for that. Then you come up with this. And I have the key, but that key is very ugly. So I'm actually going to just, because as I work through these problems, I make changes. So that's 562, 54, something, something. Take the root of that. That's 2372. How's that? Inches. So right now, as it stands, I give you 1 mark for just identifying that it's cosine law, 1 mark for the step, and 1 mark for the correct answer. Are we good? Does that answer resonate with the room? Yeah, we're good? You're all like, yeah, I know this already. I know how to do it. Oh, which angle? Angle F? In this case, it didn't ask for it, but you could. Is mine a different? DEF? DEF, that is just this angle here. It's just a 3-letter notation. We're done there. Next. A renter takes his boat out for a spin and heading towards a cliff. Notices Dwayne Johnson standing on top of the hill. Right? A renter estimates that the angle of elevation is 50 degrees. There it is. There will be at least one triangle where you're going to have to fill in partial, like it's going to be partially filled in, but some information you're going to have to fill into the diagram. So you should know that this is 50 here. Continues to travel 200 yards, and then it's 70, and it makes sense. The closer you get to something, the higher the angle of elevation is going to be, right? The bigger that angle. And use the diagram to answer the value of angle ABD. So ABD, it's this angle right here. I'm going to highlight that. And so this is the angle in question here. And that's 110, right? Angle ABD is 110 degrees because it's 180 along this stretch. And then angle ADB, let's get that right. I'm going to use pink. ADB, that's this one up here. Okay. So if you have a highlighter, go for it. Right, that's this one. So we are at, that's really 180 minus the 110 I just found. This here, 110 minus 50. So that's 20 degrees, right? So you got 1 mark for each angle. If you want to write it in, why not, right? So go for it. The distance between Amrinder's first location, A, and Dwayne. Call the side X. So first location and Dwayne, this is X right there. And you have a pair. You should identify you have a pair. You see that, right? It's hard to see sometimes, but this angle is across that side. Almost forget about there's a lot of other stuff going on, but that is this pair that you need to start with. Okay, and on the other side, you're gonna pick the 110, which is across x, right? Sine of 110, which is across x. I will skip that step because you know what to do there. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe I won't skip because this is a review, right? So this is the step I want to see between here and the final answer. So it's 200 times sine of 110 divided by sine of 20. Oops, something went wrong there. Let's try that again. That's 549.50. We are in yards. And it makes sense, right? It's across 110 degrees. It should be longer than across the 20, right? So 1 mark for sine law, 1 mark for the work, 1 mark for correct final answer, and units and all of that good stuff, right? Calculate the height of the cliff. Call that side H. So we're asking for this. So I'm going to actually draw out, right? This is the 90. That's height. I know that this is 50 here. And I know that this is 549.50. I just made you find that. That's your pair. Sine of 90 over 549.50 is equal to sine of 50 degrees. This angle is across H. Now I'm going to go dot, 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 because you know what it's supposed to happen is this times this divided by that. And so 549.50 times sine of 50, that's 420.94 yards. So just 2 marks there because it's a little bit easier to do. So just show me the work, okay? So this page is worth 1, 3 is 4, 6, 8, 11. If you score even 8 on this page, you're doing okay for tomorrow. If you're scoring a little less, like if you're scoring 6 or 5, then you're gonna have to do some serious reviewing, okay? Next page. A ship leaves port, right? This is the starting point. Travels 42 miles. This is the 42 miles. So travels here, unloads here. So this is where you turn. Then travels another 35 miles to the final destination. Use a diagram to answer. Angle X, angle Y. You all would have to agree, right? If you ever see something like the north and south, east and west line connecting, it's always a 90 all around, right? 360 in total, but it's 90 between the two sides that meet perpendicularly. So this is 90. So to get y, I'm just going to go 90, subtract the 55 that is here to get the y. Okay, so y is just 90 minus 55. So if it's a straight line, it's 180. If it's this, what is that, 35? 35 degrees, so you get a mark for that. How's that? 35. You'll write that in here. You should see now that you have a pair. So you use this property to bring the angle inside, you have a pair. Sine of 35 degrees over, oh, this is tricky, right? You got to make sure you don't mix that up, right? But you should be able to follow, right? So sine of x, this angle is across that side. So this is a sine law question that involves finding the angle. Very important. Make sure you write this down. Okay. So you still cross multiply and divide here. If you don't get something that starts with a 0, you made a mistake. Okay. So let's figure out what that is. I want to do payments as well before we go. So I think I'm going to skip the leasing question. So you take the inverse, shift sine, not cosine. We're doing sine law. 4350 is your angle. Okay, 4350. So let's go and write that in here. This is 4350. We know two angles. We can find that third one. Let's call that T, right? Angle T is 180 because we have a triangle. 180 minus these two angles. What's that? 150? Okay. Okay, thank you. That makes it easier. So that's worth 1 mark. And I'm basically getting you to solve this triangle, right? Without you really thinking about it. The distance between the start and the final. So this is your final distance. So it's basically asking for this stretch here. Let's call that Z maybe. Right? So you have some choices here. If we just found that this is 101.50, we can use cosine law, right? Side, angle, side. Let's use cosine law just for fun. This is not your idea of fun, right? Doing math, but hey, we'll make it fun after all. So that's your setup. If you use sine law, that's fine. You could use sine law, right? Use this pair and then this across from this, you still get the same answer. Oh, you gotta watch out. It's an obtuse angle, right? So you're gonna get a negative answer out of this. That negative will combine with that negative, turning this whole thing, whatever number you get, is gonna be positive if you do this in steps. So sorry, 3575, 14 dot dot dot. Take the square root of that. That's 5979. And we are in miles. 3 marks there. I'm going to skip the leasing part because there's not going to be leasing on the test. So I want you to make sure, I want to make sure you know how to do payments. You will get to keep this AC. Not always, right? You never know. With me, you never know. You think you know me, and then all of a sudden, curveball, right? If you didn't get this AC yesterday, I'm just going to quickly go over this one. This video is going to be online, so if you want to slow me down and go over that again, you can do so. So this AC, if you don't have a copy, it's right here. I had it next to the bin yesterday as you were bringing in your quizzes. So basically, the loan required, right? We would just go 29,600 minus 7,250. It's 22,350. Remember this? The loan, right? Take away the down payment. Calculate the monthly payment. To get your payment, this formula should be on your study sheet anyways. Nowhere else, by the way. It's not on the formula sheet, any of that. So this is 22,350 times. How do you get that table rate? You need your time and the interest rate. So 4 years at 6.25, you match those. Now I can't even read it. What is that, 2860? 2360, sorry. So that's 527.46. That's your monthly payment right there. How much interest paid in the first month? You remember that? That's lowercase I. You take the loan, you multiply it by the interest rate, which is 0.0625, and you divide it by 12. Allow me to just compute this. That's 116.41 if you round it, right? That 0 turns into a 1. It should always be smaller than your payment, right? Not to be confused with total interest. Do you remember how to do your total interest? TI? I don't know. You got to make sure you have that on your formula. The rest, I think I'll just leave that. Advantages and disadvantages of used and new, you have that in your notes. This is I just wanted you to review this part, okay? An advantage of buying used, lower depreciation, right? Cheaper to insure. A disadvantage is potential hidden damage, stuff like that. You can't customize it, not as safe, you name it.